Hello again. So this will be the first video in the gardening diary. Not really sure what I'm going to call it yet. But to give you a little background, I live in northwestern Ontario, which for those of you watching in the States is north of Minnesota, and those of you watching in Canada, it's about a 14-hour car ride west of Toronto, Ontario. So the climate is really cold winters and moderately warm summers. We have a relatively short growing season, so any plants which require a long lead time have to be started indoors. That's just the way it goes. So I'll give you a quick tour of my makeshift planting room and see what I have growing. Okay, so my indoor growing setup is really basic. It consists of a couple 40-watt LED light panels that I purchased off Amazon. They're low output, but at the same time they won't damage the plants. I do plan on getting a couple more and then mounting them closer to the top. And then I just use emergency blankets to keep the light inside. Again, purchased off Amazon, really cheap. I just recently potted up my tomato plants. They're looking a little sad, but at the same time I forgot to water them for a few days, so they'll spring back to life. They should be coming along. On this stand I put together this light setup. It's just 6 standard light receptacles. It does a pretty good job. And in this side have some onion plants growing, some Brussels sprouts and broccoli. Again, with my climate up here, if I want to do onions from seeds, I have to start them really early inside. But I do get much better results starting plants from seeds rather than growing from sets. So it is well worth the effort. Looks like they're coming along pretty good and should have a really nice crop of onions this year, hopefully. And what's likely going to be the norm for my videos, again, filming at night after the kids go to bed. So this year, none of the strawberry seeds that I started worked out, so out of desperation I purchased some bare root plants off of Amazon. I'll leave a link in the description. But they've all taken off and started off quite nicely, so it looks like I'll have a nice strawberry patch for the kids this year. And sure enough, some of the plants are even starting to produce some strawberries. So hopefully the nice weather will continue and I'll be able to get these outside in a couple weeks. That would be great. Again, other plants that I've started inside include some bell peppers. Bell peppers are a real challenge in my climate. I've never really gotten them to grow excessively large peppers, but we do eat a lot of them, so I do keep trying to get them to work for me. I haven't started too many plants. We normally don't plant anything out. The risk of frost doesn't really leave this region until the very end of May, beginning of June, so there is still quite a bit of time before I can actually plant anything outside. I've started things early in previous years and the plants get so big and you have to keep potting them up that I either run out of room or the plants get pot bound and they never really take off when I put them out. So it's always a balancing act between how many things to start inside and what time to get them rolling. This year, however, the weather has turned hot surprisingly early, so we may be able to get the plants in the ground a couple weeks ahead of schedule. So that's something a little bit different. So in terms of my outdoor gardening space, everything is done in raised beds, as you can see here. Everything you can see here is not only do I have to spend quite a bit of time prepping the beds from the ravages of winter, but I also have to figure out what I'm going to do in the paths. I'm still wrestling with the different materials. Probably going to end up doing some type of paving stone in between the paths. That way it takes a little bit more work, it's a little bit more of an upfront cost, but that way it's done, looks nice, and I don't have to worry about it again. The beds that are on the bottom left of your screen were just recently constructed. I built them at the end of last year, which is why they're not filled with soil. Another thing I have to do is get a load of topsoil and fill those beds mix in a bunch of organic material to bring the soil up to a nice rich nutrient level. Alright, well that about does it for the first video in this series. If you guys have any questions, just leave them in the comments below. I will try and read some of the comments as I have time to do so. Next weekend I'll be planning probably the rest of the cauliflower, cabbage. I'll start some melons and cucumbers inside. Hopefully if the weather stays nice, the ground dries up, the rest of the snow melts, I'll be able to get outside, start turning over the beds, and I will post another update in 2 weeks. Alright, see you later.